welcome to the IncGamers Candy Crush podcast saga. We're all going to get sued now. My name's Peter Parrish. I'm joined by Paul Younger. Hello, Paul.
No, it's Candy Younger.
Paul Candy Younger. Is it Tim Saga McDonald?
No, it's the Tim McDonald saga. That's the name of the podcast.
Tim McDonald saga.
So I should mention this actually isn't the first time you've tried to get us sued.
I keep trying, damn it. Nobody's out there. No lawyers are listening. Yeah, well, I don't know. People should hopefully understand that joke, but if they don't, it's because King.com developers of Candy Crush Saga are going around trying to sue everyone who infringes on their trademark, which apparently is the word candy, because that's a thing you can trademark now. I don't know. That's apparently a thing. Yeah, well, they also tried to get Saga as well, which has drawn rather lovely RPG The Banner Saga into this as well. They got filed with some trademark papers that have been circulating around the internet. So that's all incredibly stupid. I think we can agree. Tim, do you agree this is incredibly stupid?
Yeah, for once we're actually on the same page with this. It is utterly ridiculous. I'm wondering how long it'll be before someone actually tries to challenge this in court, because I suppose that's... Potentially one of the problems is that people can't necessarily afford to actually go to court to fight it out. But
Right. I think that is kind of the issue here. I mean, like, if they trademarked Candy Crush Saga, that's fine. That's the name of their game. Maybe even up to the words candy and crush in combination with each other. But the word candy, I mean, really? That's just going a bit far, isn't it?
yeah, a little bit.
Little bit. Other news today, some exciting news about YouTube Payola, which has embroiled EA, Microsoft, and the YouTube channel Machinima.
I think, before we get on to this, because I
Sure.
haven't actually heard about this, and I'm looking forward to hearing about it, but I am thinking that we should be like one of those really obnoxious radio shows that has like sound bites that they can play by pressing a button. We need one for Scandal! Or something
Yes. Industry Scandal.
Yeah.
Scandal makers. We
Well,
can be like Arrested Development with Scandal makers. It'll be great.
I'll make sure that's ready for next week.
Awesome.
Yep. Excellent.
In that case,
yeah,
let's try to create another Scandal for next week.
I'm sure this one will still be ongoing, don't worry. It started off with news that Microsoft had, through the YouTube partnership channel Machinima, put together a bit of a promo whereby people would be getting, I think, $3 per 1,000 views for taking footage from certain Microsoft Xbox One games like Rise and possibly Forza 5. I'm not sure if it was that one. It was definitely Rise, though, and some others. And kind of, well, obviously this is pretty ethically dubious to begin with, because the contract said you're not allowed to say negative things about any of these, don't mention any glitches, etc., etc. But the part where it becomes illegal, I think, is where it said you can't disclose any information or your participation in this promotion, which means you're now a YouTube person who is advertising for Microsoft without disclosing that you are advertising for Microsoft, which is definitely illegal under Federal Trade Commission rules in the US. And someone has put a comment on my story about it saying it's illegal in the UK as well. So it'll be interesting to see how this shakes down. And EA have been doing it as well with their games, so that's nice, isn't it?
Excellent. I'm a big fan of this sort of thing.
Are you a big fan, Tim, of receiving? How much money, Tim, are you receiving to be on this podcast to say?
I wish I was receiving money to do this podcast.
No, you don't.
No, I mean, I'm just a big fan of massive companies completely putting their foot into it and generating giant scandals that will probably go away in about 2 or 3 weeks with nothing actually happening.
Yeah. It's interesting what happened. I was doing a bit of reading about what happened with the payola scandal, where the word payola came from, where US DJs were being paid in the 60s, I think, to play certain songs. And what happened there was that the DJs' reputations were ruined, and the record companies paid a small fine and carried on like normal. So I fully expect YouTube commentators' reputations to be ruined, and for EA and Microsoft to carry on like normal. possibly after paying a fine. Probably not. Probably after
Sounds
not
about
doing
right.
it. Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
Man, the world is really depressing, isn't it?
It is quite depressing. It kind of seems like massive companies have an awful lot of power to shit on everything and do whatever they want and get away with it and draw everyone into their sordid web of advertising, payola, capitalism and corruption, like the scum they are.
It just feels like there's something wrong about that, although it might be that you were using leading words like scum.
Maybe.
That's not an objective assessment, Peter.
Ooh.
You're trying to lead our listeners to a certain way of thinking, aren't you, you twat?
Maybe a little bit. So yeah, this is horribly illegal, and I hope they receive the full extent of the law against them.
I thought you were going to say I hope they burn in hell, but that may have been a bit strong.
No, I don't believe in hell. So.
I would quite like to see, something more than the full extent of the law applied to them. Or alternatively, I'd quite like to watch them burn. Not in hell, just burn.
Just set on fire.
I like watching things burn, okay?
Damn, you're like the Joker from Batman. That's alarming. So yeah, I mean, this is very obviously crossing a line between... For a long time, there's been advertising partnerships, sponsorship partnerships, not just in this industry, but in every industry, because advertising gets its sticky fingers into everything. And normally the person doing the advertising has to be like, hey, this is like a promotion that I'm involved in and I'm being paid for. And then the people watching or reading can make up their minds whether they want to trust anything that person has to say on the subject. And where it becomes a problem is when the person not only isn't reporting that, but is specifically being told by the company not to report that information.
Yeah, that seems a bit wrong somehow. I'm not quite sure. I can't put my finger on.
Yes. It does seem a little bit wrong, doesn't it? And it is. So yeah, this in conjunction with YouTube's kind of new sweeping policies of shuffling away various people for trademark reasons, it's kind of like, who's going to be left? Is it just going to be the sponsored videos eventually in a year's time? We're just going to have a bunch of people out there shilling for games and nothing else? That'd be a bit sad.
Didn't you just describe the games journalism industry of the past 15 years?
Hey, we're completely clean, man, as an industry. Well, I can't even say that with a straight face. We are completely clean. I'm completely clean, I think. I'm pretty sure I haven't committed any ethical violations recently.
You're
just a war criminal.
Peter, you're dirty. You're a dirty boy.
Hey, I don't receive any money for saying nice things about stuff.
That's because you never say anything nice.
Oh, yeah.
In fairness, he's got a point there.
It turns out that actually Activision have been paying me to say horrible things about EA and vice versa.
Man,
that's how I'm getting the money.
Really good deal.
Yeah, no, it's great.
The thing is, I imagine that you would say nasty things about EA and Activision anyway, so...
I do it for free, but... yeah.
You've got one over on them, then.
Also, one of the amusing things to emerge about this is that Microsoft have been really cheap with their payola, because EA's was like 3 times what Microsoft was paying out. So, raise your game, Microsoft. Come on.
Were Microsoft like giving people free Xbox One so that they could do this?
They were giving people $3 per 1,000, and I think EA was about 10 per 1,000, which is an awful lot better, frankly.
It is. Wow.
And I guess it calls into question whether other publishers and companies might be doing this that haven't yet been caught. It'll be interesting to find out. Maybe we'll ask some and see if they let us know.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Dear Ubisoft,
you know what?
Are you engaging in covert illegal payola on YouTube?
You joke. I think we should genuinely do that. I want to phone up the few PR contacts who haven't blocked my number yet. And I want to actually ask them, I want to say, out of interest, right, on the record, or off, up to you, are you guys doing any illegal shilling? Because I'm trying to write a big expose about illegal shilling.
Would you like to comment, please? It's funny, but it does expose, unfortunately, how slightly powerless we are to get this information out of people. Sadly, but
again, I'm not actually joking. I think okay. Don't get me wrong. I would mostly do this because I think it would be funny, but I do genuinely believe that this should be done.
Oh, hey, I'll send out some emails to people going, hey, been up to any of this dirty business? I suppose, in fairness, I should say that Microsoft have denied this, and they've tried to claim that the legal wording was actually just meaning, oh, you can't talk about the contract, but you totally can talk about being part of the promotion. But the wording of the contract doesn't really seem to support that interpretation. So.
I'm sort of surprised they didn't try to blame a third party and say that it was a PR agency they'd hired that had done or something like that.
Yeah.
That would have been my first thing to do.
Well, they're not as astute as you, Tim.
Yeah.
I'm not as well versed in crisis management as you.
Microsoft should hire me as devious PR bastard.
Well, if anything's come out of this, at least the listeners know that we're not being sponsored by Microsoft or EA based on our comments.
We hate everyone. I would have thought that was clear by now.
We occasionally like some games, okay? We legitimately do occasionally like some games, but that's pretty much it. And our YouTube channel has not seen a lot of use for quite some time because it was hard enough getting things to stay up there without it being removed for trademark infringement. So there we go. So that's that. That's all in good fun, isn't it? Now let's go on to
that discussion.
I enjoyed it too. I love a good scandal. Yeah, I guess move on to the stuff that I originally had kind of planned out for the agenda today, and then all that other stuff happened instead. This seems a bit of an anticlimax though after that. Talking about like Steam and their dev days. And
what you're saying is that we maybe should have left the big news until a bit further in.
Yeah, but I don't know. People like that stuff up front, don't they? They want to hear about breaking-ish news.
Peter, if I knew what people actually wanted to hear about, we'd be the biggest game site on the internet.
We're already the biggest game site on the internet.
In your mind.
In our hearts and in our minds, yeah. I've kind of forgotten what I wrote about the Steam Dev Days thing when I sent out the agenda. I'm going to have to look it up. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Alright, yeah. So we learned quite a few things, actually.
Elaborate, please.
We learned that the Steam operating system has no launch date. Big surprise.
Steam in not talking about when things are coming out. Shock.
Yeah, that was a big
Did anyone ask them about Half-Life 3?
Really?
They probably did. Do you think you get escorted out of the building at Steam Dev Days if you start asking about Half-Life 3, or do you think they just sort of laugh at you and then let you revel in your embarrassment?
They take back your free Steam box. They just yank out your arms as you're going out the door.
No, yeah. I think they laugh at you and then they have security escort you from the building if you ask about it again.
Well, good mention there, Paul. All the developers who went to Steam Dev Days did indeed get a free Steam machine and controller. Just to, keep them sweet, keep them interested in the whole Steam machine thing. They mentioned in their talk on the first day that they want to make Greenlight go away, which I thought was quite an interesting little soundbite, because I want Greenlight to go away too.
Yeah, I would love for Greenlight to go away. It's a bloody awful system. It's good that they appear to have come around to this. Have they made it go away yet, Peter?
They have not made it go away yet.
Have they given us a date for when they're going? Oh, wait, no.
No.
All they have to do is rebrand it to Red Light.
What? Well, I don't like where this is going.
Okay. No, not dodgy. Not some sort of Gabe Newell porn den.
Well, that's where my mind instantly went, I'm afraid. Oh, you just mean this is where you submit your game if you never want to be on Steam ever?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's kind of what Greenlight already is.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That is what Greenlight is. Because if you put a game on Greenlight and then get a publisher, you're still not allowed to have it on Steam unless it's greenlit.
Yep. Crazy times. Yeah, they said that they didn't want to get rid of Greenlight because they didn't like it. That wasn't the reason. The reason was because they're evolving. And then as far as I know, didn't really elaborate on what that means. But I haven't seen that full talk because it's not up online yet, so I don't know. They perhaps explained it a bit better than the second-hand reports that were coming out. I'm not sure.
The one who actually finds there to be something incredibly sinister about Valve saying they want to get rid of it because they're evolving.
Well, how so?
I don't know. I'm just thinking about things like X-Men and Magneto, and the next
Magneto.
Get rid of the humans.
Cerebro. Yeah. Yeah. Who knows what's going on there?
Well, maybe it's evolving because I think he shaved off his beard, isn't he?
I did hear that he'd removed his beard. Yeah, someone had kind of tweeted that, or said he'd kind of cut it down substantially. So that's kind of a shame. I liked his big bushy Karl Marx-esque beard that he was having for a while.
Yeah, I mean, how can we call him Jesus if he takes his beard off?
Exactly, it's not right.
Genuine question.
Okay.
Now that he shaved off his beard, how big is his face?
Well, are you counting the circumference with the beard? Because it's going to be smaller, obviously, because there's no beard on it anymore.
I'm just meaning because the beard kind of masks the dimensions of the face.
I see. You're making a Gabe Newell is fat joke, aren't you? That's
actually no, but I now wish I had. That would have been a really good opportunity for one.
Look, I've got a lot to get through here.
All right, carry on.
It said that there are no. Hey, come on now. There are no minimum specs or certification process for Steam machines, and they want TV and music and films and all that shit on there too. I guess you probably already knew that.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, anyway, look, right, Steam Dev Days is basically a big old push by Steam and Valve to go, hey, developers, get that shit off DirectX and Windows, get it on Linux, because we need all the games on Linux for our Steam machine thing to work. Have a Steam machine, have a controller, it's all going to be great, go home, do your stuff. And then day 2 was all about virtual reality. The end.
That was incredibly dull.
Do we want to talk about virtual reality? Or?
Well, yes, no, we can talk about virtual reality because apparently their system is like being in the holodeck, which I'd love to have seen, as opposed to being your head down the pan, which is generally not a nice vision. But I thought they were going to announce some hardware, but nothing was announced, and basically they're just going, "Hey, we're pally with Oculus. We're sharing our tech and our discoveries."
And we're totally not actually getting involved in the tech side of things, despite the fact that we've got this tech and it is fucking amazing.
Everyone who uses it basically wets themselves in anticipation of being able to use it again. Yeah, and then they went, oh, we're not releasing it though, because that would be too easy.
In fairness though, this is pretty much Valve. This is what they do. They tease shit and then never do anything with it. Half-Life 3.
They've never teased Half-Life 3, Tim. Have they?
Really? Alright, Half-Life 2 Episode 1. Then Half-Life 2 Episode 2. I believe the words they used were, we're switching to an episodic model because it'll be a lot faster to get the games out. If I remember rightly, how many years was it between Episode 1 and Episode 2?
A few.
See, I don't think Valve exists. I think Valve is basically a room full of desks with lots of PR people sitting around going, right, we need to get some publicity. Let's just make up some crazy shit, and then we'll say that we're not going to release it, and then we'll get someone else to do it. That's my theory.
Do you think they've been paolarizing the people who used their non-existent VR suite into saying it was like Star Trek holodeck? Is that what you're saying, Paul?
Exactly. And maybe his beard isn't off.
Maybe.
I honestly think it's the other way around, because I think it's more that Valve, all they do is spend their time trying to work out how to make more money off the shit they've already done, hence Dota 2 hats, Team Fortress hats, all that sort of thing. And then they wait for other people to come up with really good ideas, and then they basically capitalise on those. Which, let's face it, is what they did with Dota. That's what they did with Left 4 Dead, because they bought up Turtle Rock. It's what they've seemingly just done with the Oculus Rift. They're not creating anything, they're just selling fucking hats and making money off other people's ideas.
And they have sold a phenomenal amount of hats, given the numbers they were tossing around in some of their talks.
Speaking of the hats and Valve getting money for other people's work, most of those hats are submitted by the community.
Made by other people, yeah.
It's classic.
It's actually just a giant machine for printing money.
Yep. You figured it out. You've got to the heart of the matter. Yeah, they said something like 90% of the stuff for Team Fortress 2 was community created, and like $400,000 worth had been sold in the first week of January or something ridiculous like that. Yeah, it's a lot better than making games, isn't it? So much easier.
Yeah, I mean, if you make games, then you've got to deal with like reviews and things like that, and that might result in negative PR. In trade magazines and websites and things like that. Whereas on the other hand, if you just make hats, the only people who are going to complain about that is, the users, but nobody gives a shit what they say because they're the users, and maybe an occasional really wanky article on a website somewhere, which nobody will read because it'll have an exceptionally boring name.
Hang on, we're missing a trick here. We should just ditch the site and turn it into a hat review site. Yes. Obviously, they're in massive demand.
Yes, we could review hats. We can have a start hat rating: 5 hats out of 5, 1 hat out of 5, etc.
Considering that the hats tend to be purely visual, occasionally animations associated with them, but purely visual, and there are pictures available of the hats already. How can we do that?
Because we can pretend that they are real and that we have touched their soft, fuzzy felt and caressed their every curve.
I should point out that hats is just it doesn't actually just mean hats. It's any cosmetic.
It means items, really.
In game.
But just doing hats would be more fun.
Mostly it's hats, though. Let's be honest. There's a lot of hats.
There are a lot of hats, particularly with Team Fortress 2. It's all hats there. It's hats every day.
Hat Fortress hat.
Hat Fortress 2. Hat Fortress 2. There you go.
Team Hattress 2? No.
God,
sounds like
go.
Team Mattress. Yeah, so really nothing massively interesting came out of Steam's dev days, I suppose, other than they're not making virtual reality hardware yet.
Or Half-Life 3.
But they really like it, and theirs is really good. Probably because it costs loads of money. They had a couple of pictures of it, and one of the rooms was wallpapered with all these tracking points and stuff like that. And they were talking about this thing called presence, which is the feeling of being transported to another world.
I like presence.
And they basically were kind of saying we've researched the optimal head tracking and latency and FOV levels and stuff, and this is what we reckon a headset will need to have to be acceptable, and we reckon there'll be one in, I don't know, a couple of years, probably.
Right, from that then, confirmed, future VR games, future Valve games will not let you change the field of view.
No, it's okay. It's okay in a range. It's just it can't go below. I think I think they were 80 to 110. They tried and they were all okay. So I don't know. Well, I wasn't there.
No, you know what? I'm not going to carry on. This has gotten silly enough already, thanks to my continual interjections. I'll just be quiet for a moment.
Hey, it seems like they're going to make GTA 5 for the PC. Is that...
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Are they?
Cause, right. Not only has it appeared in AMD driver lists again, someone leaked a big old bug list thing that had lots of references to the PC in it.
Which actually, I will say, was actually from last year.
It was from September, wasn't it? Yeah.
So
we already wrote about that, didn't we?
It's kind of that bug list kind of appeared when all the other shit appeared last September. So it's kind of news, but not news because it was kind of all buzzing around last year.
It was like when people looked at the app, the sort of companion app, and found references to PC in it, didn't they? It was around that stuff.
it's kind of resurfaced and just kind of been recycled a bit, maybe to, I don't know, get some excitement up about it. What's more exciting though is the GTA 5 to GTA 4 mod, which I think is quite impressive.
Do you think that's more exciting?
Well,
it's impressive. It's impressive.
It's fucking tangible.
It's true. It's a thing that's there and that could conceivably exist.
Yes, it is a thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel kind of bad for them though, because what happens when GTA 5 comes out for the PC? What are they going to do then?
Yeah, it's a good point.
It's going to be a little bit redundant, maybe, I would say. Yeah.
Or maybe they'll all get jobs with Rockstar.
Yeah. That's what happens if you make a good mod. You instantly get hired by the company. That's how it works. Hey, they're making another Hitman game, and this one's not going to be rubbish.
Oh, it might be.
Really?
Well,
it might be. They're just making the right noises.
They've said it's not going to be rubbish, and why would they lie? The makers of the game. Why would they mislead us?
I can write you a list.
What have they said to him about this game? About how amazing this Hitman game is going to be?
This was at least hours ago. I can't remember. They said that he's not going to have magic pockets anymore, that they're going to try to return to having more open sandboxy levels and globe trotting and picking off lots of different targets all around the world. It's back to 47 at the height of his travelling murderer career.
Will it have checkpoints? Did they mention checkpoints?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think they mentioned it. They might have done.
I hope they don't have checkpoints. They were quite annoying in Hitman Absolution.
Do you know what else was annoying in Hitman Absolution?
Tim, what else was annoying in Hitman Absolution?
Basically everything. I mean,
not contract mode though.
No, that was good. Which is going to be back.
That's coming back. That's like the only thing that they dared mention from Hitman Absolution. It's like, yes, don't worry, we're bringing back that thing people like. Don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, everything else from, the enforced stealth levels to 47 turning into the world's worst assassin the instant a cutscene happens, to the way that the sky system worked, to the actual stealth system itself, to... I could just sit here and go on about this pretty much all day, but we've discussed this many times before, Peter.
It looks really nice, though.
Yeah, you liked Hitman Absolution, or you thought it was okay.
I liked enough of it to, yes. Yeah,
it was a massive heap of diarrhea.
I can see why you why you did think that. I'm willing to concede on some of those points. I'm not quite.
I don't know. I mean, I played all of the Hitman games. I was just expecting something that was actually Hitman and not a subpar stealth game.
Definitely was not a Hitman game. We can agree on that much.
That's the thing. Coming at it, if you haven't played any of the Hitman games before, you may think, oh, this is quite good. Coming at it, having played all of the Hitman games and Blood Money lots, it's such a massive step back from Blood Money. I can only assume that it stepped back off a cliff. It can't actually see Blood Money anymore. It is plummeted to the bottom of the ocean, and it is a bloody heap. That's Absolution.
Pushed by the protagonist of Blood Money. Probably.
Yeah, and then because it's not weighed down sufficiently, it actually floats on the tide, basically halfway around the world. That is how far away it is from being Blood Money, which is a good Hitman game.
How's Hitman Contracts, Tim? Because that's back on Steam.
Apparently it's got no music or voice acting.
Someone says that's fixed now, so that's good.
That's okay.
Releasing it without any music or voice acting was a bit of an oversight, though.
A little bit. Contracts was okay. I do find it very funny that right now Contracts is the most expensive Hitman game on Steam, because Contracts' release on Steam has happened at the exact same time as a sale on all of the Hitman games except Contracts, which means Hitman Absolution, the most recent one that we were just talking about, it's rubbish, don't buy it, is I think £3.99, while Contracts is a £5.
It's probably worth £3.99. Come on.
For Contracts mode, it probably is.
people are still playing that, which they probably are if they're selling it for like £3. There's going to be enough people buying.
I don't know, even contracts kind of depressed me. I really liked the idea of it, I just wish that it actually had levels and systems designed for it, because most of them were the linear stealth levels. There were a couple of really good levels that worked well in it. But it was just, I don't know, it just kept reminding me of crap like the disguise system, which is just awful. Although that said, we did have quite a good time passing back and forth our own little contracts on the courtroom level.
Yeah, we did. The disguise system makes perfect sense, Tim. What happens is, when Agent 47 is disguised as a policeman, everyone thinks, that's cool, I don't recognise that person. But every single person who's a member of the police force instantly knows that he is not a member of the police force. And the same thing goes for chefs in Chinatown. If you dress as a chef in Chinatown, someone who's like there with your little hot dog stand, all the other chefs are like, that guy, I've never seen that guy before.
Yeah, and they will instantly raise the alarm, and then a SWAT team will descend on your face.
Yeah.
It's like, the chefing community, they're so tight.
They're really tight. They've got like a really strong union. They know, man, when someone's unfamiliar.
I would like to point out, in case any of you listeners haven't played Hitman Absolution, that is literally the way it works. If someone has the same costume on that you're wearing, like, for instance, a chef in Chinatown, every other chef in Chinatown can see through your disguise, but no one else can. And as soon as they see through your disguise, they immediately know, somehow, that you're an assassin, and they call the SWAT team.
So you know the way that disguises usually work, right? Where you think, I need to infiltrate this compound and there's a bunch of guards there. I'll dress like one of them and try to blend in. It works like that, only the exact opposite. The exact opposite way that a disguise works in real life.
What makes it much funnier, barring the fact that ducking out of sight for a second makes them forget about you, and the disguise meter completely refreshes, so then you can just stand up again and they go, don't think I've seen him before. It's the fact that they can even see through disguises that completely cover every inch of your skin. Like, for instance, SWAT teams with helmets and body armor and visors. All the other SWAT members know that you are not one of them, instantly.
It's the way you walk, or like, it's something about your body, your body chemistry is giving them a clue.
That's the thing, though. You'd think that maybe, rather than just immediately going, holy shit, and opening fire, they might actually say, is that Steve? Did he get shot? Is he a bit? Is that
Steve?
A bit funny? Steve, you alright, man? No, they just go, fucking hell, this guy's walking funny, shoot him in the face.
Yep.
Forget where I was going with this, but the upshot is that Absolution is rubbish.
There's also, you've convinced me actually, I'm going to go back and take a few points off my score. The other good mechanic is that to avoid being detected in the disguise for a while, you can do the thing where basically 47 kind of looks into his collar or holds up his hand for a little bit, and then everyone goes, oh, actually no. I thought I didn't recognise him. Because he's hiding his face, even if you can't see his face.
Because he's wearing a visor or is facing the other way. The instant he does this, it's like a fucking Jedi mind trick. People looking at him suddenly forget he's there.
He's got incredible mental powers of deception, okay. Yeah. So that's Hitman Absolution there. Excellent. I tell you what, should we talk about some other games that aren't Hitman Absolution? Paul, I know you've played Planetary Annihilation. Oh. Is that something you can talk about? I don't know if there's anything.
Is it worth like 70 quid or however much they put it on Steam for?
Oh, wait, hang on. Are you being paid by whoever's publishing this game to say nice things about it?
No, because I might not say nice things about it.
Considering the pained look on his face, I have a feeling he's going to say...
We just have to...
It's a nice idea, but it's very clearly early access. It's quite buggy. Not everything's in there yet. It needs a lot of work, but, the basic mechanics of that. Sorry, Paul. What were you going to say?
You just have to establish this now.
I refer to my colleague and his statement. No. Okay, yeah. Early access. lots of pathing issues. It did a classic thing, which is true homage to Total Annihilation, the fact that it managed to grind my PC to a complete halt at one point, which considering it's got 16 gig of RAM and it's a quad core i7, that was quite impressive. But yeah, it's a funny old game. This it really is. It's like your traditional RTS is simple. You're playing on a flat plane, and this you're playing on a bloody sphere. So it's been kind of devised by someone with a sick mind that really wants to really screw with your perception of how an RTS should really work. Do you know what? It doesn't look that great. I was actually expecting it to look a little better than it does. The units I find are a bit samey, which is considering there's a lot of units because you have different production facilities like advanced and normal and whatever. So you get different types of the units depending how far you get up the tech tree. It's not really doing anything that brilliant. And the big thing for me is the fact that and I think this is their hook point, is the fact that you can basically smash a planet into another planet, which is basically you can put engines on a moon and send it into your opponent's planet and try and wipe them out, which is nice. It's a cool idea and all that. But ultimately the problem is, because I've been messing around the single player because I don't want to get beaten by sort of a bunch of 12-year-olds online, which is usually what happens with me in RTS games. So I've been playing the AI, which is just it's just not even sympathetic to anybody whatsoever. Literally, unless you have like octopus hands going like that on the keyboard, building 59 billion things at once, you're pretty screwed. So I was telling Peter earlier, my tactic was to let the AI really screw me up right on the first planet, but then get a little dropship to take my commander to another planet. So while the AI was sitting there thinking, I've got him, he hadn't really, because my commander was on the other planet building a massive army. So what had happened was, I had a massive army on one planet, and he had a massive army on his planet. So for me to take him out, I'd either have to smash another moon into his planet, which I hadn't figured out at that point how to do, or land a little building unit on his planet, and then try and covertly get a foothold, and then screw him up from the inside. That didn't work because he had the whole planet swarming in units. So he thought he'd come and do the same to me, but little did he know that I had my planet swarming in units. So we had a stalemate for about half an hour, and then I thought, "Fuck this, quit." So it wasn't a brilliant gaming experience. I don't think visually it's that great. It's okay. Like I say, there's a lot of pathing issues. Put it that way with the units. Just things weren't doing what they should be doing, and I found that really kind of frustrating. How much did it sell for? Was it $90 or $70 initially or something? It was something ridiculous.
Yeah, it was pretty expensive. Tell me more about the moons though, crashing moons into things. That sounds quite
good.
Well,
basically what it is you can put engines on a moon and then tell the moon to go smashing into the planet and then just wipe out whatever's on that planet. Now I haven't actually done it yet, and being a bit of a noob, I thought I'd go and do some investigating last night and sort of see if people had done it. And it's a really cool idea, and it's quite visually stunning. One thing I do like about it though is you can actually build your own sort of planetary system, so you can like put as many planets in a game as you want, position the moons around them, and then save that and then use that. And it's all procedurally generated, so I could create my little sort of solar system and then go and play that against the AI or whatever, and that's quite cool. It's quite nice. So you can put like 6 planets with a moon around each, and so on, or 2 moons, whatever. So I was just messing about with that bit last night after I got so infuriated by the relentless AI swarming in from every possible angle, from every horizon possible. It's a bit nuts. I can see it be quite. If you get quite good at it, it could be quite fun. So that is kind of not going to be fun for me, because I probably am not going to get quite good at it, even though I think I'm okay at RTS games. I'm going to go back again and play more of it this evening, but I'm kind of torn on whether it's really good or it's really clever what it's doing, or it's trying to reinvent something that maybe didn't totally need reinventing. I don't know. I need more time, a little bit more time with it. But I've had fun playing it. I just find it a little bit frustrating with the rotation of the planet, because you have to scout all the way around. You can send out little drones to scouts. You can see in satellites up and all that kind of stuff. But it is quite relentless.
How total annihilation-y does it feel? Because I mean, you mentioned that before, and that's an RTS that had a very particular feel to it.
Well, I you know what? It's been so long since I played TA, and I was never the person who played. I played more Red Alert than when everyone else was playing TA. I was playing bloody Red Alert, but it is pretty similar in the resource. I think if I can remember correctly, like this year, you capture energy and then you mine for the minerals. You just put a thing down on it, and then you've got your commander build unit's got a little zapper gun that builds it in kind of real time, and your stuff zips down. And I think that's how TA was. I can't quite remember.
Sounds about right.
But I think that's right. Am I right, Tim?
From what I can remember, yeah. It's been a while
so
since I played it, but that rings true.
It is pretty similar. And the fact that the TA, they always kind of encourage you to you could build shitloads of stuff and have a massive army and all this kind of crap, even though your PC can bloody handle it after about 4 units. But it is kind of like that. But I was really surprised actually to find my PC grinding to a halt. But it was just kind of made it really unplayable.
Well, especially if you're saying it's not as much of a looker as you were expecting. I guess it's just shit for units, probably.
I think the problem with it is a lot of the planets, like the surfaces and stuff, like you get lava and there's sort of like a Death Star-y type planet or a foresty type planet. The problem is it doesn't really matter what's on the planet greatly, because you're kind of playing on a flat surface, it feels like.
So it just basically, it's a different colour.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think for an RTS to kind of work effectively, you need to have a lot of terrain to deal with and strategic points and so on. And it kind of lacks that, which is, well, from what I've seen, anyway, it's a little frustrating. There is one planet I was on where it had like a few dips and sort of bits that you could go into, because the AI was down the bottom being a bastard shooting up the way, and my guys couldn't shoot down the way, which was really annoying. I don't know. I'm a little bit torn on it. Whether it was worth I think it's maybe about 40 quid now or something on early access. Would I pay that now? Probably not. I would hold on. I kind of think there's work to be done on this still to make it a good game. And not everybody's going to like it. It will appeal to a certain type of RTS player. Probably the RTS player you'd want to kill in their sleep.
Alright. Tim, what have you been playing, and are you still playing it now?
Yes, I am quite literally playing Might and Magic right now.
He is as well.
How is it? Live blog it for us.
Sorry?
Live blog it for us. How?
I've currently got a full inventory, and I'm trying to remember how the fuck I get out of this forest so I can go and sell my ill-gotten gains.
You can't talk about this, Tim. This is under embargo.
It is. I think there is one thing I can probably say, because I do recall that some previews went up, and I think I can probably talk about the early bit of the game reasonably safely. I want to narrate my starting experience. Where I generated my characters. They're called Elise, Bob, Georgie, and Haley.
Good RPG names.
Yeah, I meant to call Georgie Tarquin, but
no, Tim, you should have gone with Tiggy.
Tiggy and Gothmog.
Yeah.
Tiggy Legberg.
Yeah, I quite agree. I created my characters and start off in the opening town. And the guy's there, and he basically says, "Hey, you're new here. Do you want me to show you around?" I say, "Yeah, okay." So he signs on with me for a moment. I walk around town. He stops me and tells me what the buildings are. And then I go, and I think, well, this is actually, this is quite nice. It's nice grid-based movement. Everything seems to make sense. It looks quite nice. This isn't bad. This might be all right. And so I walked into the place where you're told to go and get your first quest, because it doesn't do very much in the way of blocking you off too much and kind of forcing you to follow its path. The world is generally pretty open, but it doesn't let you out of the first town until you've finished a couple of quests, which actually makes logical sense for a couple of reasons I won't go into. Yeah, I go to pick up my first quest, and the guy basically says, don't worry, I need to make sure you're all right before I send you out into the wilds. Don't worry, I'm not going to be having you fight rats in a cellar or something. Then it comes up with quest accepted, spiders in the well.
Yeah.
That was the point where I saved and quit for the first night.
But Tim, you love spiders. You love the little creepy crawly critters.
Love them when they're quite far away from me. I can't see them, not thinking about them. I'm very happy with them at those points.
I mean, you're killing them in this, so that's something, probably.
Yeah, I'm killing them in a lot of ways.
Hey, Tim,
there is actually something else spider-related I want to talk about, but that probably is embargo.
Put it this way, Tim, you're the only man that I know that has a spider catcher.
To be honest with you, I'm the only person that I know who has a spider catcher.
I've got a spider catcher. It's just a shoe. That's all.
Oh, evil man!
Hey, don't kill them, horrible bastard. All you're doing is fueling the inevitable uprising.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna be there with my shoe, fending them off to the bitter end.
Yeah, good luck with that when they've mutated into about 20 feet monsters.
Yeah, well then all my RPG experience will hopefully come to the fore. So anything else you can tell us, Tim, without it being embargoed, or?
It's a bit risky. There's quite a lot of stuff that I want to say about it, but I feel like I might get in trouble.
That's fine. As you're going to be reviewing it fairly shortly if you can get through the next 200 hours.
Yeah, if I can finish it. Let's say I can probably get away with saying that there are 4 acts in the game, according to the screen, my inventory screen that sort of tracks my progress as well. I'm on Act 3 and have been for quite a while. I keep thinking it's going to end and then it doesn't. And I've played for probably about 55 hours at this point.
Jesus.
So what you're telling us then, Tim, is it's good value for money, if anything else.
There's certainly a lot of game in here, yeah.
You're not going to dispense with it too quickly, yeah.
Yeah. Of course, whether or not you actually might want to is something that I can't talk about. I can't say whether it's any good or not just yet.
Alright. Well, I'll talk a little bit about Europa Universalis 4's new expansion-y DLC, Conquest of Paradise.
Does it have maps?
Yeah, I was going to say, does it have maps, Peter?
Hell yes, it has maps. It has a randomly generated new world. Just revel in those words. A randomly generated new world in Europa Universalis 4.
This is the first time they've done random generation in a game like this, isn't it?
I think it is, yeah, which is one reason why it's quite interesting.
Is it really buggy and broken?
It seemed okay so far. There's one thing that it's done that's a bit weird that I'll mention shortly.
I'll shut up and let you describe the game.
But yeah, basically, because in Europa Universalis 4 a big thing is kind of trading and colonizing and stuff, and obviously if you're playing as Portugal or Spain or something, you probably want to head off over America way. And obviously the exploration is a little bit anticlimactic in the sense that you know exactly what's over there and what shape it is. So if you want to immediately make a beeline for Brazil, then you can because you know where it is. So basically this is their way of going, well, okay, we'll randomize the new world. We'll put some parameters in so that it will always be there, you know, you won't ever sail across and it's like, oh, psych, there isn't a new world. No trade for you. Sorry you invested all those monarchy points into researching that. That was a waste of your time. So there's always something there, and it always has a couple of trade nodes and what have you, so you know you're getting something. And they've also kind of expanded the colonial mechanics so that once you've colonized a significant enough chunk of America or South America, I think it's 5 provinces next to each other, then that province kind of becomes... not independent, but sort of pseudo-independent in the sense that it changes its name and is kind of under your protection, but it kind of becomes the 13 colonies, like the US was before it became the United States, where you're still paying taxes and tariffs to the parent country, but you have a new name. So, for example, in my Portugal game, they've spun off and formed Portugal, in which was the name I gave them. So now Portugal and Portugal it's kind of next to one another, and this is the point where there was, I think, possibly a slight bug, because I had colonized 2 areas, and these things are only supposed to form when there's like 5 provinces next to each other, and like 4 of them were in one colonization area, and one of them was like off way in the north, which I'm pretty sure isn't supposed to be happening. I think they should all have been in the same place. So there's that. It adds all that stuff, and then eventually they might try and seek independence and stuff, and then you can, if you like, you can then switch to play as the newly independent nation if you want, rather than being the sort of motherland and then carry on playing as them, which is pretty neat.
Do you then have to fight for your independence, or what?
Yeah. Well, basically, I mean, the way Europa Universalis 4 works, every time you load up a save, unless you're playing Iron Man, I think, you can pretty much switch around at will. So what you could do is trigger the War for Independence and then decide to play as the other country.
Okay.
Or not, depending how you feel. And in Europa Universalis style, all these other nations can get drawn into this through alliances and defense pacts and all that good stuff, which is kind of entertaining. So I haven't pissed off Portugal enough yet, but I'm sure I inevitably will to see how that works. The other fairly major thing they've done is made the Native American tribes vaguely interesting. Well, actually interesting to play, whereas before they weren't interesting to play at all, because they had to use the same tech trees as everyone else, except they were really hampered in terms of how many points they had to spend to actually tech up. So most of the time you were just sat there doing nothing, waiting for Europeans to arrive and kill you, which was a bit depressing, really. So now the Native Americans, they have their own tech trees, and they've got like the single province ones have this migratory feature where you can kind of move around the map, migrating from province to province and earning research points and stuff that way, which is quite decent. They can band together into federations to fend off settlers when they show up, so that's all expanded as well, and that's pretty much it. That's what it adds. It makes the colonial game more interesting, and makes the native tribes actually playable. 2 things which were missing from the base game, so it's nice to have them in. Pretty much, I'm quite a fan. I like all the additions. They're not perfect, and yeah, there are a few bugs here and there which we'll probably come across more of as I'm reviewing it, but overall, good features, nice additions. Maybe a bit pricey at $15. I kind of thought it was $10, then learned it was $15. But pretty good.
15 doesn't seem like much. I'm obviously who doesn't play Europa Universalis. But I don't know, that considering what you've said it includes in terms of basically massively opening up colonization and the Native American nations and things like that, it sounds like a reasonable expansion for the price. Not a full-fledged massive expansion, but it sounds like it adds a fair bit.
I guess I was comparing it to the recent Crusader Kings 2 one I reviewed, which was $10, and I felt added similar amounts in terms of what it brought. It didn't have like whole randomized maps or anything though, so it's certainly not outlandish, the price. I guess it's because I thought it was 10 and then I learned it was 15.
Fair.
Probably, oh okay, it's actually more than I thought. Oh well. So yeah, review of that will be coming up once I've messed around with it some more, basically. Hopefully it won't be quite 50 hours worth as Tim's is. And what else is coming up other than those reviews? I don't know, Paul, are you writing something about Planetary Annihilation or doing a video?
I am. I will be. I need a little bit more time with it. I'm also going to be taking a look at Strike Vector, which is an upcoming, what should I call it? Ship-based shooter that's trying to recapture the sort of old FPS kind of feel, which looks quite nice. So I'm going to be checking that out probably for the first time tonight. I got something else I'm doing as well, and I remembered earlier and I couldn't. Oh yeah, I'm going to have another back to King's Road. I will be going back into DayZ as well because I think it deserves it when Fridays. I want to go berry picking basically, but I will wait for Friday's thing to drop, Friday's stable patch to drop before I go and do that. So I got a few things on the go at the moment.
I see. I was tempted to ask for a review code of Blackguards or Blackguards, depending how they want to.
I've got one. Do you want it?
Well, see, then I did some looking around, and they've been releasing the chapters on early access, right? And I saw someone like, "Oh, I'm on chapter 4. I've been playing for 50 hours." And I thought,
basically, you were going to review it, and now you've thought, I don't actually want to spend time playing a game.
I don't want to spend 50 hours on
Welcome to my life, Peter!
On the risk of a game that I think looks kind of mediocre. Because if it turns out mediocre, good God, there is nothing worse than playing a game for 50 fucking hours when it's kind of alright, but not
Peter,
really.
People want to know what you think.
I'm playing Might and Magic while doing a podcast.
Alright. Well, I mean, there's not a lot else coming out between now and when Thief comes out, I suppose. So, yeah, Paul, if you have a review code for Blackguards, whatever.
I'm sure there is one kicking about. I held it actually for that very reason.
Then, by God, I will take it.
Oh dear.
As long as I'm given a month to review.
Well, just like, was it Dominions, was it?
I don't know what game that is.
Yeah, how are you getting on with that, Peter?
I'm getting on better with Europa Universalis 4 because I understand it and like it.
On the subject of Paradox fanboyism, which we know that you are, Peter, we're actually we're physically not because we're here. But Tom is winging his way as we speak right now to Miami for Paradox Con, so there will be hopefully 2 new announced projects from Paradox, and he'll be coming back with all bits and pieces, so watch out for that as well.
I'm excited to learn what new stuff, and then it's probably going to be Victoria 3, and I'll be like, I don't really like Victoria. Oh well.
Well, maybe you'll like it when they jig it up with all the new shiny interface and maps.
That's true.
And things.
That's true. I mean, you can have like a kind of socialist revolution going on in Victoria, which is pretty cool. I like it for that. So that news will be coming our way next. I don't know, over the weekend maybe. When's the meat of this Paradox convention? Is it like Thursday and Friday, or?
I don't know. When's it start? Is it Friday?
I think it's Friday. Yeah. So.
It's Friday. Yeah, I think it's Friday. So it'll be, I don't know, maybe beginning of next week by the time everything's farted about.
They might embargo it, mightn't they? Yeah.
Yeah, and then we're also, I think next week, is it maybe next week, we're off to, well, I'm off to Rebellion to check out Sniper Elite 3. It should be a bit of a hoot.
I thought we didn't do events anymore, Paul.
Oh, I'm doing this one. I'm occasionally going to be doing the occasional one.
It's when they're not in London, I think we consider that.
Are you being paid for this?
No, I wish I was. I've always got to drive up at the crack of dawn from bloody Somerset, so
you should be paid for that.
Yes.
So stuff from that, and I don't know, articles and stuff. Probably I wrote a thing about Steam Dev Days and VR, which basically nobody read, so I guess nobody really cared about that.
Honestly, I'm not even sure I read that.
I like the VR stuff, man. God.
I'm interested.
I saw it and I meant to read it, and then I completely forgot about it. I was probably playing Might and Magic.
Isn't that ironic? Isn't that ironic coming from the only guy who's got a fucking Oculus Rift out of the 3 of us?
Yeah, exactly. It actually does make a kind of poignant sense that because I've actually got experience with VR, I don't really give a shit what he thinks.
That's perfectly reasonable. I accept this wholeheartedly.
I kind of feel bad now, though. I think I maybe should have phrased that differently.
Yeah, I think you better just sit in the corner and have a hard think about what you just said, and then when you come out of that corner, Tim, you go and read that article, soak it up.
Okay.
I'm going to go read it again. We'll be back next week with the IncGamers Candy Crush podcast saga. Till then, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Facebook and Twitter.